As we saw in the previous movie, changing the display units changes the system of measurement, but it doesn't actually change the size of objects. It doesn't scale the world. But there is a way to change the scale of the world and the accuracy of spatial calculations by adjusting the system units. I've got this 1 cubic meter box here in my world. I'll select that. Go over to the Modify panel in order to display its parameters. And we're seeing that it has a size of 100 centimeters on a side. Let's go back into the Customize menu to Unit Setup. And just for this particular demonstration, I'm going to set the display unit scale to meters and click OK. And now it's reading out as 1 meter. Go back in there again, Customize Unit Setup. And let's play with the System Unit Setup. And that's a big button at the top of the Unit Setup dialog box. Click on that, and it launches a child window. And here we can set the internal accuracy of 3ds Max. We can interpret a system unit as any size we want, and that will effectively scale the world up or down. And you'll need to do this if you're modeling a very small or a very large world. If you wanted to model a very large object, such as a city, to absolute unity scale, so that it was actually kilometers on a side, then you might want to change the system unit scale or else build a miniature version of your city. 3ds Max makes it easy for you to change the system unit scale. Other programs don't even have this ability. And when you change this, you will change the absolute size of objects in the world. If I set the system unit scale to meters, now instead of the object being 1 meter on a side, suddenly now it's almost 40 meters on a side. Nothing changed in the viewport here, but the entire world is being interpreted as being a different scale. Usually you want this set to inches because that's a good compromise for scenes that are built at the scale of the human body. So if it's set to inches, which is the default, then you can model objects that are very small, like fractions of a millimeter. You can also model objects that are very large on the scale of kilometers. Below this is an origin slider. This allows us to determine the accuracy at different system unit scale settings. So as we drag this around, we're moving a virtual point towards or away from the origin. And the origin is here over at the left. And the farthest extents of the world are over here on the right. So a 3D scene is not really infinite, and it's not infinitely accurate. And as we get farther away from the origin, the accuracy goes down. And paradoxically, that's indicated by the numbers here going up. So larger numbers are bad. And it means that at that distance, 3ds Max would not be able to determine the difference between two vertices if they're closer together than this threshold. So we want that threshold to be a lot lower. If I bring the slider back down all the way to the origin, then our accuracy is perfect. At a distance of very, very low, we still have good accuracy. So this, as you can tell, is an exponential scale. And so just modeling objects far away from the origin is already a bad practice because you're going to have problems. So this dialog is really only applicable in situations where you do need to model very large or very small objects, or if you need compatibility with other applications like a game engine that expects system units or grid units to be in some other convention other than inches. So I do recommend that you leave it at inches unless you have some compelling reason to change it. So I'll click OK and leave that at inches, set my display units back to centimeters, and click OK, and now I'm back to where I was. One last point, if you're going to change the system unit scale, it's best practice to change it before you begin modeling. If you change the system unit scale in the middle of a project, you may experience some problems like vertices collapsing or objects not rendering. That's how to use system unit scale to set the accuracy of internal spatial calculations.